Are you at a point in your life where you feel financial pressures weighing you down? It's a question many of us have asked ourselves at one time or another. The struggle is real and it's heavy. It's like carrying a backpack filled with stones up a steep hill, each stone representing a bill, a debt, a responsibility. In these moments, it's easy to feel alone, as if you're the only one climbing that hill. But let me assure you, you are not alone. There are many who have walked this path before you, and many who walk it with you now. The burden may feel singular, but the experience is universal. If you've ever found yourself wondering if there's a purpose to this struggle, if there's a lesson to be learned or a silver lining to be found, you're not alone in that either. Throughout history, men and women have searched for meaning in adversity, for light in the darkness. This is where the wisdom of the ages comes into play, and more specifically, the wisdom found in the pages of the Bible. For centuries, people have turned to these stories for comfort, guidance, and understanding. They found solace in the tales of ordinary men and women who faced extraordinary struggles and emerged stronger, wiser, and more resilient. We're going to embark on a journey through these stories, not as a religious exercise, but as a human one. We'll explore the trials of Joseph, who rose from adversity, Job, who maintained his faith amidst loss, and the widow who witnessed a miracle in her scarcity. These narratives are more than just stories. They are lessons in faith, patience, and wisdom. They offer us a roadmap to navigate our own financial struggles. So let's take a deep breath together and prepare to step into the shoes of these biblical heroes. Their stories are our stories, their struggles are our struggles, and their triumphs can be our triumphs. Know that you are not alone, and just like the heroes of the Bible, you too can overcome these struggles. Consider the story of Joseph, a man of humble beginnings, who faced immense trials and tribulations. Joseph was the favorite son of Jacob, but his brothers, envious of the favoritism, sold him into slavery. Imagine being betrayed by your own kin, torn away from your loved ones, and thrust into a life of servitude. Joseph could have wallowed in self-pity, but he chose a different path. Joseph was bought by Potiphar, an officer of Pharaoh. Even as a slave, he didn't let his spirit wane. He worked diligently, earning Potiphar's trust. However, adversity wasn't done with Joseph yet. He was falsely accused and thrown into prison. Yet again, he could have let despair consume him, but he didn't. In prison, Joseph's wisdom and faith shone through. He interpreted dreams, a gift that eventually caught the attention of the Pharaoh himself. Joseph was brought before Pharaoh, and he interpreted Pharaoh's dream of 7 healthy cows being devoured by 7 lean ones. Joseph predicted 7 years of abundance followed by 7 years of famine. Impressed by Joseph's wisdom, Pharaoh appointed him governor of Egypt. Joseph, once a slave and a prisoner, was now in a position of power. He effectively managed Egypt's resources during the 7 years of abundance, storing grain for the impending famine. When famine struck, Egypt was prepared. Joseph's wise actions saved countless lives. Joseph's story is a testament to rising above adversity. He was sold into slavery, wrongfully imprisoned, and faced immense hardships. But through it all, he maintained his faith and used wisdom to navigate his trials. His resilience and foresight eventually elevated him to a position where he could save an entire nation from famine. Just like Joseph, you too have the potential to rise above your current situation. Life might be throwing curveballs at you right now, but remember, the same faith and wisdom that guided Joseph can guide you too. You have the strength to weather your storms and the potential to turn your trials into triumphs. Have you heard about Job, a man who lost everything he had? Let's delve into this remarkable story. Job was a man of great wealth and prosperity, but he was also a man of profound faith. He had a large family, vast lands, and an abundance of livestock. He was, by all accounts, blessed. However, in a series of rapid, unfortunate events, Job's world was turned upside down. He lost his livestock, his servants, and his properties. Worst of all, he lost his children. His wealth, his status, his family, everything was taken away from him. Now imagine for a moment being in Job's shoes, losing everything you've worked for, everything you've loved. That's a kind of suffering that's hard to fathom, isn't it? And yet, through all these trials and tribulations, Job remained steadfast in his faith. He didn't curse God, he didn't abandon his beliefs. Instead, he said, "The Lord gave, and the Lord has taken away. May the name of the Lord be praised." Job's story didn't end with his losses, though. In the midst of his suffering, he continued to worship and trust in God. He didn't understand why these calamities had befallen him, but he held on to his faith. He knew that even in the darkest moments, God was with him. And what happened next? God blessed Job again, even more abundantly than before. He had twice as much livestock, new lands, and he was even blessed with 10 more children. His latter days were more prosperous than his beginning. Job's story is a powerful testament to maintaining faith in the face of loss. It shows us that even when we're in the depths of despair, when we've lost what we hold dear, we can still hold on to our faith. It's a reminder that patience and trust in God's plan can lead to blessings beyond our comprehension. Job's story teaches us to maintain faith and patience, even when facing financial loss. So let's take a leaf out of Job's book and remember, even in the toughest times, faith can be our guiding light. Let's reflect on the story of the widow's oil, a tale of miraculous provision in times of scarcity. This story unfolds in a time when a widow found herself in dire financial straits. Her husband, a servant of God, had passed away, leaving her with a pair of sons and a mountain of debt. The creditors threatened to take her sons as slaves if she couldn't pay off the debt. In her desperation, she seeks help from Elisha, a prophet of God. When asked what she had in her house, her response was, "Your servant has nothing there at all except a small jar of olive oil." Elisha then instructs her to borrow as many empty jars as she could from her neighbors. Following Elisha's instructions, she goes inside her house with her sons, shuts the door, and begins to pour the oil from her small jar into the empty ones. To her astonishment, the oil doesn't run out. Jar after jar is filled, and still, the oil continues to flow. It's only when they run out of jars that the oil finally stops. Selling the oil, she's able to pay off her debt and live off the remainder. This wasn't just about the multiplication of oil, but the manifestation of a miracle rooted in faith and obedience. The widow didn't question Elisha's instructions. She simply followed them, even when they seemed absurd. Her faith led her to an unexpected solution to her financial struggle. Her story is a powerful reminder that even in times of scarcity, miracles can occur. It teaches us that faith in God's provision can lead to extraordinary outcomes, even when our resources seem meager. It's not about the size of our resources, but the magnitude of our faith. The widow's story encourages us to believe in miracles, even in times of financial scarcity. It reminds us that when we place our trust in God's provision, even a small jar of oil can be the source of our miracle. So, what can we learn from these biblical stories about overcoming financial struggles? Just as the sun rises after the darkest of nights, each of these tales shines a light on the path to overcoming financial adversity. They teach us that the key lies not in the size of our bank accounts, but in the strength of our character, the depth of our faith, and the wisdom of our decisions. Let's revisit the story of Joseph. He was a man who, despite being sold into slavery, rose to become the second most powerful individual in Egypt. His journey wasn't easy, but he navigated it with wisdom and resilience. He teaches us that adversity isn't a life sentence, but an opportunity to grow stronger, smarter, and more resourceful. Then we have Job, a man of immense patience, who weathered the storm of loss and came out stronger on the other side. His story is a reminder that patience isn't about waiting passively for things to change. Rather, it's an active engagement with life, a steadfast belief that better days are on the horizon, even when all seems lost. And let's not forget the widow, who, amidst scarcity, believed in the possibility of a miracle. Her faith was rewarded when a small jar of oil became enough to erase her debts and secure her family's future. This story beckons us to believe in miracles, to have faith that the seemingly impossible can happen, even in times of scarcity. These stories aren't just tales from a bygone era. They are timeless lessons, reminding us that the journey through financial struggle is not a lonely path. It's a journey shared by many who have walked before us and conquered their own challenges through faith, patience, and wisdom. Remember, just as these biblical heroes overcame their struggles, you too can rise above yours. Have faith, be patient, and seek wisdom in your journey.